So yesterday, we learned that the Minister Musawa said that there's no law banning her. But yes, she came back the day before yesterday. But yesterday, she came back to say no. She didn't say that she was put out of contest. Now, but some Supreme Court, some senior lawyers, not Supreme Court justices here, who just read out some of the things some Supreme Court justice said about it. Some Supreme Court senior lawyers, senior advocates of Nigeria, had different opinion. One was saying that she didn't break any law. I read that in the Leadership newspaper yesterday. The other one said that, oh, she can actually be appointed, that there's a difference between employment and appointment. That employment is one where you'll be paid. But appointment, that because she's a core member, the president or anybody can appoint her to serve anywhere, that what she's doing is also national service as a minister. So she's not entitled to her remuneration as a minister of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. So when she's done, that's when she can begin to receive salary. So now, let's go from the last argument, because clearly from what the Supreme Court justice said, that's not obtainable. But let's go from the senior lawyer's argument that she can't be there serving on appointments, but without ministerial salary. But when she's done, she can begin to receive the salary and what have you. Now, Britt, you're the constitution man. Help us make better sense of all of these arguments.
All right, thank you very much. You see, first of all, the observations I have made in the arguments lawyers are putting forth, you know, are this. This same Musawa was to serve in 2001.
Correct.
Good.
Correct.
And the NYC said she absconded.
True.
So 22 years after, she resurfaced. What did the NYC do to her? Because under the act that creates the NYC, what we call the NYC bylaw, there's punishment for absconding.
True.
Did they punish her? I'm asking the NYC. They did not.
Well, Ochono didn't tell us if they punished her.
But if they did, they would have told us, because the spokesperson for Enegwa, what we call the man, said that they will look into this particular and take proper action.
If they are disciplinary.
You understand? What I'm asking is that the young lady did this 22 years ago, and she came back now. She wants to do the service. That is on one point. The second one is this. National Youth Service Corps, ought to be for people who are from 0 to 30 years, as the case may be. 22 years ago, does it mean she graduated at the age of 8 or thereabout to make it 30 years, and she's still eligible to serve? That is one question I want to find out. Technically speaking.
So, no, I think on that, they take it from how old you were when you graduated.
When you graduated.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll ask her,
50,
you can come and serve.
Yeah.
All right, let's eliminate that. Now, let's take it.
But in this case, she absconded.
Yes.
That there's a law. She broke the law.
She broke the law, yes. So she broke that law, and the punishment on record was not meted to her, except they prove otherwise. That is it. Number two is that the reason why you see this cacophony, of this animal diversion, let me use the word, animal diversion on this issue is because of the fact by lawyers, is because of the fact that Section 147, sub 5, says that for anybody to qualify to become a minister in Nigeria, he must have the qualities and characteristics and precondition required for you to become a member of the House of Reps.
Okay.
That is what Section 147 says.
Okay.
Now, when you look at it, said, for you to be qualified, to be nominated to be a minister of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, that you must possess the qualifications of somebody that wants to go to the House of Reps in an election. You understand the point? Now, that particular Section 147 sub 5 is indirectly or directly referring to Section 65, Section 66 of the 1999 Constitution that lay out pre-qualification that a man or a woman that wants to aspire to the House of Representatives in Nigeria lawmaking body must fulfill. And some of these conditions are You must be a Nigerian by birth. You must belong to a political party. You must also be sponsored by that political party. And you must be of age of 30 years, and above etc. as the case may be. Then the final one is that you must possess the minimum school requirement of school certificate or its equivalent as the case may be. These are the preconditions listed out under Section 65 for those who want to, aspire to House of Reps. So indirectly and conversely put is that if you want to be a minister of the Federal Republic, then you must possess all these particular, preconditions and requirements for you to be a minister, as the case may be. Now, some lawyers have now said that under Section 66, you find that there are reasons why you may not qualify, to become a member of the House of Reps, if so facto as a minister, as the case may be. So now, this has been confusing because in that section, the section 147 that I said, I quoted, sub 5, 65, etc. as the case may be, does not state that you must possess, what they call an NYC certificate or certificate, as the case may be. So that is where some lawyers and some other people with opinion are hinging the argument that she does not need to possess, that certificate, of discharge, or whatever, as they call it, from NYC.
No, but how do you explain the fact that she is a serving? Yes, there may not be a law that clearly states that she does not need to possess that.
Yes.
But there is a law that says that as a serving corps member.
I was going to that. Now, that is the argument of lawyers. Mm-hmm. Now, the law itself now that says that as a serving corps member, we have statute, which is constitution. We now have case law to back this one up, which is judgment of courts before now. Now, those lawyers are also saying, let me start with the case laws that most lawyers have cited. In the Modibo case that was cited by some senior advocate, etc. as the case may be, that was for election. In the Adeosu case, that's supposed, in that Adeosu case, they said that you don't even need a certificate from NYC to be taken as a minister. So lawyers were citing that Adeosu case of last year. Oh. The Adeosu case, as I said to them, is incongruent with this particular, case that we have right now. Adeosu case, she was not a participant in the NYC. She was not a member of the NYSC. She wasn't serving. She was not serving. She was not serving as that the time we had that certificate scandal. What people accused her of was, forgery of a discharge certificate, which ought to be a criminal, offense. So when the court now said that she does not need, an NYC discharge certificate before she can become a minister, that was, slightly understandable. But the court went further to say that as it is right now, she's not a serving, corps member. We are looking at the issue of certificate forgery as the case may be. Then, secondly, we now imputed to say that if a particular law says, for instance, that WAEC certificate is the minimum you need to require, if you go and upload or front load your PhD, degree, don't we have the right to question, that particular PhD degree you brought, as the case may be, even though the law says the minimum is school certificate? That is on that side.
You already presented it.
You already presented it, so we have the right to cross-examine you on that particular whatever. If you now say you are a youth corps member, we have the right to, look into the reason and why you are a youth corps member. Now, let me put this into perspective. Maybe this one will clear, the air. Why the bylaw of the NYSC as a law, has to be read in a community reading with the constitutional provision. They have to be put together. You have to read the two together, then you now make sense of it. Now, what that bylaw is saying is that if you are serving, you have to sacrifice that 1 year. You have to focus. There's no distraction. Do you know that you cannot even travel if you are in the camp, in NYC camp or service, without permission from the commander or whatever the case may be? You cannot even go abroad except you take permission, from the authority that gives that particular permission. There are still things you cannot do. You cannot go and do jobs outside that particular service that you are doing. Assuming you were posted to a bank, you work in that particular bank, you are not expected to go and begin to work with another construction company, just to make ends meet. You are supposed to focus for that 12 months or thereabout that you are supposed to be there. And also, anything that has to do with political offices, you are not supposed to go close until you finish, that particular job and get your discharge certificate. That is on the side of whatever. Now, some lawyers were not saying that she cannot be discriminated against by virtue of her not possessing, a discharge certificate or a member of the youth corps. I want to say with due respect that, like a lawyer said, that the NYSC bylaw is subservient to the Constitution. I said I disagree with that particular, assertion of that particular lawyer that said that since the NYSC, bylaw is subservient to the Nigerian Constitution, therefore the Constitution will take supreme. I want to refer that lawyer today to go and look at. You should go to section 42 of the 1999 Constitution, and I'll read it so that he will clear the doubts of that particular lawyer.
Okay.
And that particular section is talking that section 42 talks about right to freedom from discrimination. That you cannot be discriminated against because you are serving in the NYSC, that you can't be a minister, etc. I said no. Go to that section 42, sub 3. It says to tell you that the bylaw of the NYSC is sacrosanct and is a law that is in operation in Nigeria, and that you must obey it. Okay. Let me tell you why this is like that.
Okay.
It says, section 42, sub 3 says, nothing in subsection 1 of this section shall invalidate any law by reason only that the law imposes restriction with respect to the appointment of any person to any office under the state or as a member of the armed forces of the Federation or a member of the Nigerian Police Force or to an office in the service of a body corporate established directly by any law in force in Nigeria.
And that's the NYSC.
That is the NYSC. So if the NYSC says you cannot, once you are in service, you cannot take any other appointment, be it political and otherwise, it means that the bylaw has a force of law that must be obeyed. By this particular subsection, it says that bylaw has restricted Musawa from becoming a minister of the Federation because of the fact that the bylaw being in operation and exercised and supported by section 42 sub 3, it means she has not been discriminated against and nobody is trying to poo-poo her. We are saying that follow the law. That, madam, you cannot be a minister right now, as the case may be, until and unless you finish. In the Adiosu case, let me just round up this. The court in that case, the Federal High Court in that particular Adiosu case, said that by the time Adiosu was even invited to Nigeria to become a minister, she was not a Nigerian because she was even born outside. She was only born, outside of Nigeria. Yeah. Because what the Constitution say by section 65 is that Nigerian by birth. That is, you must have been born in Nigeria. So, as at that time, she was born in UK. Even though the parents are Nigerians that were born here. Though she's a citizen of Nigeria, but not born in Nigeria. So, as at that particular time, she can take up any appointment without having to undergo NYSC. There are children who were born in the US of Nigerian parents. They are not bound to, come and do their service here. But if you want to, have any employment, if you want to work in the government or private sector, you are bound to come and do that service here because the discharge certificate is a condition precedent, as the case may be. So this is my take on this. And I believe people should look at it, read all these particular, sections I've, highlighted, that will make it known that I am saying directly to the government of the day that the woman Musawa is not qualified by way of the bylaws of the NYSC. Yes, the constitution is supreme, but Section 42 has reinforced the powers, giving powers of the bylaw on NYSC that it must be circumscribed because limitations has been placed. Nobody can say she has been discriminated against, as some groups are saying, as the case may be. So these are things we have to look at.